is Music Parley.
It just seems like this guy is doing it all, man. Ajani Griffith, first of all, welcome. Second of all, how in the hell do you spin so many plates, bro?
Well, I mean, the publishing I kind of stepped away from. I just keep my catalog. I stepped away from us, like, micromanaging independent artists. I mean, whether you have a record label or a publishing company, you're micromanaging. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a headache. So, but it's just the combination or the accumulation of developing different skills and developing different talents within the same scope, within the same area, and just putting it together. I have a skill set to where I can produce on many levels, and I enjoy learning. I enjoy expanding my skills, and that's how I handle that.
How is your time management like to be able to do all that?
Well, I have to work with certain people, a team, and I have to prioritize certain projects. So let's say I have something, an event in October, or couple events in October, and around that time I have to prioritize what I have to do, and then kind of like split my time between the different projects, work on the different projects to get the results in and to get things done.
Okay. So let's take it from the top. How did you get started in music?
I've always had the interest in music and media and entertainment, so I've always wanted to be a songwriter, and I pursued that when I was in college, and then I learned the craft. After I graduated from university, I went to SAE, which is a audio production school. It has campuses all around the world, and I went there and I learned electronic music production, and by then I was already writing my own songs and whatnot. So that's how I got into that. I just pursued whatever ambition I had for it. I'm good at what I do, so I pursued it.
Like I said in the beginning, your professional journey is very, very diverse from the beginning all the way to today. Can you expand on those experiences a little bit? And what did you do in those roles, and what did you learn from them?
Well, I started off as a songwriter, and I started off in music. So, I was in college, and then, I understood that in business, what I had to do in order to make something successful and sustainable was to understand how, music publishing works, because that's how you make money from music publishing or off your music. So I wanted to start a music publishing company, and then my whole goal at the time, it was very ambitious, but I wanted to take on the responsibility or be a catalyst to not help only myself, but also help other artists. So I did that. I there was one band I was working with. They unfortunately broke up, but they were actually pretty successful. They made almost, I think, $100,000, and they went touring at different festivals, jazz festivals. They were like they weren't a jazz band, but they were like a jam band, I would say. They played all types of different styles of music. So they went to they were doing it on their own. So I was like, oh, I have one of my mentors who worked to the Red Light Management. I was like, maybe we could do something. So we were trying to pitch together a plan to get them a record deal. We were working together to try and get them to get a record deal, and then kind of fell through because they broke up. And then I realized like micromanaging artists is tough because there's things that you can do well on your end, but there's things that are totally out of control. You don't know what an artist is going to do. Some artists are like good with their business, they'll show up on time, and then some other artists are not. And they're just all over the place. So, and then I knew I had some artists. I have my friend who I've been working with for the last 10 years, and he was an upcoming filmmaker. And then I reached out to him like, hey, I got some songs for your movie. He's like, okay. Then I got songs in the movie, and then from then every single movie he's made, he either puts me on as music supervisor or I'm involved in the music department of his films. And the last one went to the Oscars. Was contending for the Oscars. So we have that's my evolution. And then I learned film and video, and then that's to where I am. So it's a combination of all these things. I'm involved in all these things. You can't talk about film without music. You can't talk about music supervision without having that influence with music. So that's how I've learned my skills, and that's how I've got to this point.
Okay. What about today? What does your daily work consist of today? At this point?
I think at this point, it just really depends, because sometimes I can be doing client work. I can be extremely busy, and then other days it's just planning a production. Other days it can be we're gonna sit in the editing studio and put together content and plan. So it really depends on what's on the table, what's in front of me, and what we have to do, and what are the dynamics with those projects.
What's the most fun activity you do out of everything these days for you?
I would say meeting new people, meeting new people, seeing new experiences, going to cool events or cool sets. Yeah, but meeting new people and actually, seeing what's out there, seeing new things.
That's a very good answer. Since you mentioned video creation, how is video creation evolving for music brands in the context of social media these days?
It is incredibly important because music is very brand oriented, so it's very content driven, and everybody's on their phone, so everything's on demand. I think the challenge for a lot of artists is regardless of whether you like it or not, you have to be creating content, or your fans are going to go somewhere else. So you have to be able to produce a certain quality of content at high levels in quantity. So it's very tough. It's very tough because not all artists are marketers. Like before, back in the day, it was they would have huge budgets, and obviously artists would have to put in some work, but it wasn't as demanding,
Okay.
Like I think, because you wake up, you gotta take a picture, you have to be texting, and that's very demanding. On top of you actually being in the studio and recording, and so it's very important. It's very demanding, and you have to put out lots of content in a sustainable way, or at least to be sustainable. And that can be overwhelming. That's a job in itself.
Yeah. How do you approach it as a professional who does that? Do you document the journey of an artist? Do you build their brand as well? Do you, like, what is it exactly that you touch and what do you look for in someone you might consider working with?
I think the main thing is how they work and what they're looking to do. You know, what are they willing to do, or what are they willing to put forth? Because if you're not putting in the work, then you could do all the content in the world, but it's not going to work. Like I said before, you have to. The artist is the catalyst to everything around their brand. So for me that's so important. That's so key. I won't really talk about the business specifics of who I target, but I think the next step is also trying to figure out what you want to do, because not every project is different, every artist is different. What if they might want to promote a concert? So when I was working with Inner Circle, I was doing content. I was just editing cuts and stuff like that. If you want to build brand and less of awareness for like an event or something like that, like the behind the scenes or a vlog, stuff like that, which is more long term or medium to long term, to where you can tap into an audience to where they can see your face and what you're doing on a consistent and regular basis.
Yeah. Okay. You're also an A&R. Are you still doing it?
That ties into the publishing. I stepped away from that a little bit just to focus on the video and the content. Once we build the team and it's more, and the company can work on its own, then I'll definitely get back into that.
Okay, so then what's your ideal destination you'd like to reach professionally?
Ideally, I want my company or companies, but I want my companies to be able to be self-sustainable, to where I have a team where I don't have to have my input all the way. We're building startups, so startups are like babies. You have to put your blood, sweat, and tears. But ideally, I want to be able to have it be sustainable. Also, the main message is to help tell stories for artists in various ways.
So what are the challenges to getting there? Like, what are the biggest obstacles to reaching that point?
You have to be able to build. You have to be able to build brand, and like just like any company out there, and set your foot within your market and make it stand and see, like, I'm here. So it's really about scaling up. That's a process, but scaling up and brand. That's the main thing I'm working on, brand right now. That's why I post on LinkedIn and I strategically write these posts, because it's working. It's working at a certain level. People reach out to me. They want to talk to me. They want to know what I'm doing. They want to know my thoughts, and it's strategic, but it works. So it's now replicating that and scaling and actually building a team. We also look at having a strong financial base for us to do that. And yeah, so those are the things that I'm looking at it. So really just scalability and building that team.
What are the values you're building your brand around?
That's a good question. The values. I mean, I think the main ethos is to help artists tell their stories. You know, because it's hard. It's really hard to be in the music business. Like I said, when we're off camera, you have to be a self-starter, and there's no hierarchy to get from point A to point B. There's literally thousands or even millions of ways you can get from point A to point B. So it's really helping artists, or at least guide them, tell the stories to the world, help them brand themselves, so you know they can open up those opportunities to get to that point.
You used the word ethos. Yeah, I don't really hear that word a lot, and I think it should be used more. It's a very powerful word.
It is a very powerful word.
As someone who's doing a lot of things as you do, from your position as a kind of overseer of many things, how do you see the music industry, and where do you see it heading? Is there any interesting trends that you noticed that perhaps creatives could adapt to and make the most of?
The trend that I'm really interested in is the rise of Latin pop. It's very interesting how Spanish language pop has really influenced the world, and I guess that's because of America's influence as a superpower, and in entertainment and in marketing and all that stuff. I think the trends within the country, when something becomes trendy within the borders of the United States, it trickles out to the world. So, you know, given the fact that I have roots living in like Latin America, and I live in Miami, which is predominantly Spanish speaking, and given all of that, all of my experiences, that's the biggest trend that, you know, I am most interested in. You know, I think the music industry is changing rapidly. You know, especially when it comes to content and media creation. It's always been content and media rich, but every day it's exponential. It's multiplying. It's multiplying because, you know, there's more people added to the internet. There's more people coming onto the internet. There's more people having readily access to the internet who never had readily access to the internet before. So the demand is increasing, and you have to create content just to get your story out and your brand out, because we live in an on-demand world, and if you're not doing that as an artist, then, you know, they'll go on to the next one. So, and it's a challenge. It's not an easy thing. It's interesting to see how social media or digital media is influencing the world of music and the charts. TikTok, there's a lot of songs that have been charting or have been on the Billboard charts that were influenced by TikTok. Crazy, right? Crazy, right? So it's interesting to see the acceleration of the internet and digital media within the music industry.
I think I once saw an interview with Denzel Washington where he was saying that for actors in particular, good branding is for them to be good, not necessarily to be all over the place, you know? So, like, contrasting his approach with the, let's say, Kevin Hart approach, which is very rich in social media presence and so on. Do you think that applies to artists as well in any way?
Branding for them to be good?
Yeah, to be good as a musician, to make quality output constantly, to be associated with good music, rather than to always be like on social media, having an online presence like that.
I I think that I think it really depends. Okay, so let me take a step back. I think that if it's trending, marketers are going to always want to
Jump on
throw
the
money
bandwagon.
at it.
Yeah.
You know, and people, you have songs out there. You always hear people say, "Oh, this song is not good," or "This is a terrible song," and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, there's people consuming it,
Talking about it, engaging with it.
and buying it. So as long as there's enough people talking about it and consuming it, and consuming that content, and you know, going to concerts, marketers are going to throw money at it. What is good is really subjective.
Yeah.
Like you know, I remember when the EDM was trending a couple years ago, and every song was like EDM track. You know, the EDM is pretty huge, but there's also a lot of musicians out there who are like, this is trash. And there's a lot, and that's a huge community too. So, but guess what? The EDM DJs or artists or whomever in that space were making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
whatever is trending, whatever is creating economic value, I think there's always going to be money for it.
Yeah.
And whatever you think the quality of the music is, that's really subjective.
You made a lot of good points on this question. As someone who worked, you said 10 years more than 10 years in this industry, what are the things you've learned to never do in this industry versus what are the things you've learned always to do in this industry, particularly to this industry?
I would say the main thing, one thing not to do, don't go blasting people, or you know, that can create a lot of worms or a lot of headaches for you. You know,
What do you mean, blasting people?
Or let's say, don't cast people in a negative light. Don't go on social media and talk bad about people, or talk to a whole bunch of people about something that happened. I mean, negative things do happen. That people will try to take advantage of you. But at the end of the day, you know, you're building an image for yourself. So if you are going out and you're engaging with that type of energy, and you're casting that image of yourself with people, they're going to look at you. And you know, in very extreme cases, you know, what if you know, people start blackmailing you for whatever reason, even if you're right in a situation, what if people might start blackmailing you, or you know, not hiring you? So the main thing is, you know, keep it amongst yourself, keep it within your circle, and just like, you know, deal with it. You know, if you need to go other routes, like a legal way or whatever, go ahead and do whatever you feel that you need to do, but don't overextend yourself to negativity. But you know, there's some people out there who will do that regardless, and I guess to each his own. But for me, that would be my main advice. I don't get into quarrels over the internet, or within your social, within people, or with people. And then secondly, I think you have to be very bold. You have to be very bold to want to work in this industry. especially if you want to be an artist, because like I said, you are a self-starter, and you have to be a catalyst for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to wake up and play the guitar for you. You have to play that guitar. You know, you're not going into an office where everything's set up for you, where there's a hierarchy, where you just go in, okay, do the job, and then you go home. So you have to be bold, and you have to have that self confidence to do the things that you want to do. Right? So I think that's something that's very, very big, and also tell the world what you're about, because there's lots of artists who are very talented and they have all these aspirations, but you know, some are shy.
Yeah.
Some are shy. I get that, but you know, you have to tell the world what you're doing. Just by telling the world, just by speaking, you can get opportunities. People will reach out, you know, just like I do on LinkedIn, on a smaller scale, but just like I do on LinkedIn.
Your story, the story brings
Right.
with it everything else. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I'd love to take our chat to a more philosophical / spiritual level, if you're okay with it.
Okay, sure.
First of all, are you a spiritual person at all?
I'm more, not really. I'm more of an agnostic, you know, but you know, I'm not so spiritual.
Do you believe in the law of attraction?
I believe in the law of attraction.
Okay. Do you have any kind of routines, mantras, things that keep you sharp and creative and keeps you going?
Yeah, I usually say, like, my ambition or one of my goals is I aspire to inspire people. So yeah, like my aspiration is to inspire people. Like I've heard someone say that before. I thought I was the only one who was saying it, but it is what it is. But you know, I came up with that quote on myself with myself or by myself. I came up with that quote, and like that's my whole mantra, just to help tell stories and have artists get to the next level and through the things that I do, inspire somebody else out there to do the same thing or do whatever they aspire to do. So, you know, just by me putting out content or a photo or writing something, hopefully someone can see it and be like, that's really cool. I need to get inspired to do my own stuff. And, you know, some of the things I've posted online, you get 1 or 2 comments, people say, hey, that really inspired me. Now, are they going to do it? I don't know. But at least, you know, that spark is there and they've gotten inspired, and I hope they can go out and do whatever they need to do, or at least approach it to get to their art to the next level.
Inspiration is it's a very powerful feeling. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long, as opposed to self-discipline. And this my question was aiming more towards that. You know, do you have any like self-discipline routines? Do you wake up at a certain hour? Do you like to read? Do you like what do you do to keep yourself to better yourself, to keep yourself sharp, to keep yourself bettering yourself every day? Do you have any of those?
I was learning. Like, I wouldn't have got to this point if I didn't learn new stuff, you know, from learning how to do film and cinematography. It opened up way more doors. It opened up more doors than just being a songwriter, because I have more to offer now. and from it, it's just like, okay, I can, instead of being, let's say, this in as an example or hypothetical, just being in the sea of songwriters and musicians trying to get into one door, I have something else to offer that can get me through that door faster or easier. So, you know, I expanded my skills, I picked my skills, and I have skills to where everybody wants that skill, and that's video production. It's not easy, but everyone wants that skill. So I can get in the door faster.
Yeah, makes sense.
I can, it's really interesting how I'm just like, yeah, I might not be producing music in that very moment, but I'm just sitting next to people who've written the biggest songs in media in the last 20, 30 years. And it's like, it's like they're just right there. And it's a crazy experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. What would you like to be remembered for 100 years from now? As a person as well as an entrepreneur?
Just being able to pursue your dream, your aspiration, and with an ambition, but having the tenacity, the fearlessness to go after that, because that's also one of my ethos. Like, attack it, ethos in fierce. Okay, the ethos that I have is really just being fearless. Just attack your aspirations, your dreams, and that's my mantra. You know, I don't believe in things like passion projects. I don't understand the concept of a passion project, or I'm just going to create a film or a movie or music or do a painting because it's a passion project. No, my main goal is to create something, to create generational wealth, provide sustainability for myself, but 3, to send a message out to the world to where it can impact people on a large scale, and be a curator, a major player within pop culture.
That's powerful. That's very powerful. Lastly, I would love to transition a bit into technology and opportunities. And as far as you've seen so far, what are the biggest development opportunities you've seen for creatives and artists these days? Maybe outside of the video space, of the video content space.
Information technology. It's just so many new apps coming out. It's liberated what artists can do, where artists can reach, the type you can literally sit. Well, I'm going back to video, but it's more about content and branding. Just in general, just the vehicles that we can use to sit in our bedrooms and make deals worth thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some people are even making deals worth millions from doing things within their bedroom. You know, so that's amazing. So there's so many different areas within information technology, whether it's like mobile marketing, let's say like text messaging, the content, the video, the NFTs, so many different things that is going on, and you know, the is expansion of information technology, and it's giving us these tools. It's changing the world, but it's changing the music industry.
Yeah. What advice would you give to, let's say, independent artists that are looking to get into music right now? Do you think it's easier for them now?
I think it's easier. Still not an easy job. It's easier. So what advice? Understand what you have to do. You have to be open to ideas, because there are some artists who think they know everything, or they just want to be in their box, which is fine, but I think it'll be beneficial to just expand outside yourself, expand outside your ideas, because there's people who I'm going to make it because if people help me or not. But at the end of the day, there's a million artists who think that. And a million artists trying to get on Billboard 200, guess what? There's only 200 spots on the Billboard. So the main thing is be open, learn, be mindful of who you work with, because not everybody, even though if they have the credentials, the resources, unfortunately, there are people out there who will just try to take advantage of it. And I've run into that.
How do you filter them out?
I think you have to be very, at some point you have to be very straightforward, cutthroat, maybe, or just be direct. If you're not that type of person, you have to surround yourself with people who can deal with that head on, that you can trust. It's unfortunate, it's unfortunate when you can be around people who have everything and they still try to screw you, even though you're just like, you have nothing, or you're on your way up. That's the unfortunate thing, but hey, this is the world we live in. So I think if you're not that type of person, have people around you who can handle that.
In terms of networking, are you open to any collaborations or partnerships of any kind? And if so, which kind, and what kind of people should approach you?
I think if it makes sense, if I'm interested in it, anything really. But obviously I'm in the entertainment space, in music space, so if it makes sense, I don't really have a specific type of person to collaborate with at this point. I am working on a specific project, but I mean, if anything that anybody could come by and say, hey, this is my idea, and it sounds interested, I might be interested in working with that person. So, but the main thing, it has to be interesting and it has to make sense. Things could be interesting, but if it might not make sense on paper. So things like that. Anything really, but it has to make sense.
Okay. And lastly, are there any projects, any new initiatives, any things you're working on now that people should know about?
I don't want to. I'm working on a new movie about reggaeton, but I don't really want to get into that because for obvious reasons. But we're working. I'm working on a project on reggaeton right now.
Okay.
A short and then a feature. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are going to understand the real roots of what reggaeton is. Because I think a lot of people miss that a lot. The truth gets hidden.
Hmm.
So that's something I'm working on right now.
Please do share whenever it's ready. I definitely want to see that and share it. I'm interested
Definitely.
in reggaeton as well. I have
Definitely.
roots as well in the Latin countries. Amazing. Ajani, thank you, man. This was educational. It was a privilege. And I'm really excited to see what your future looks like.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.